If you're like most gardeners, your shelf probably looks a lot like this. Crowded with bottles and boxes, each promising to be the answer to a different gardening challenge. There's a rooting hormone powder for propagating cuttings, a liquid fertilizer to boost growth, a transplant solution to ease shock, a fungicide to fight off disease, and an insecticide to keep pests at bay. Over time, these products accumulate, filling up precious space and often going unused as new solutions hit the market. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of specialized products, each claiming to solve just one piece of the gardening puzzle. But what if there was a simpler, more natural way to care for your plants, one that could replace many of these bottles with a single versatile solution? And here's the question that doesn't get asked enough. What if one plant, one that most folks already have sitting on a windowsill, could do the job of most of that shelf? That plant is aloe vera, and what's inside its gel is genuinely more fascinating than most people realize. It's not folk wisdom, it's not a gardening hack, it's real biochemistry that aligns remarkably well with what plants actually need. Today we're breaking all of it down. The science behind why aloe vera works, the specific ways to use it in your garden, and what gardeners consistently report when they make this switch. By the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to completely rethink that product shelf. Let's get into it. Before we dive into using aloe vera in the garden, let's take a closer look at what makes this plant so special, starting with what's actually inside its gel. Aloe vera gel is a powerhouse of over 75 active compounds. It contains vitamins like A, C, and E, which are antioxidants that help protect both plant and human cells from damage. You'll also find B vitamins, including B12, which is rare in plants, and minerals like calcium, magnesium, and zinc, essential for healthy growth in both people and plants. Aloe gel is rich in amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. In fact, it contains 20 of the 22 essential amino acids, which help plants repair tissue and boost resilience. There are also enzymes that help break down sugars and fats, saponins that act as natural cleansers, and plant hormones like auxins and gibberellins, which stimulate root growth and healing. That's why aloe vera gel is used for everything from soothing sunburns to helping cuttings root faster. Its unique blend of nutrients and bioactive compounds makes it a true multitasker for both your garden and your health. So, when you see that clear, gooey gel, remember, it's not just water. It's a cocktail of natural goodness that can transform your plants and benefit you too. Aloe vera is packed with more than 75 active compounds, each playing a unique role. For starters, it contains vitamins like A, C, and E, which act as antioxidants, helping both plants and humans fight off stress and damage. There are also B vitamins, including B12, which is rare in plants. Aloe is rich in minerals such as calcium, magnesium, and zinc, all essential for healthy growth and development. Then, there are enzymes like amylase and lipase, which help break down sugars and fats, aiding digestion in humans and supporting soil health for plants. Polysaccharides, especially acemannan, are key for moisture retention and boosting immune responses. Saponins provide natural cleansing and antimicrobial properties, while salicylic acid helps reduce inflammation and fight off pests. So, when you use aloe vera, you're tapping into a powerhouse of natural compounds that benefit both your garden and your well-being. Auxins and gibberellins. These are plant growth hormones, plain and simple. Auxins are what regulate cell elongation and root formation, while gibberellins promote stem elongation and help with seed germination. These are actually the exact same classes of compounds you'll find in commercial rooting powders. Only here, they're in a natural plant-derived form. So when aloe gel is applied to a cutting or a seedling, it's delivering those growth-promoting hormones directly to the plant tissue. Salicylic acid. In plants, salicylic acid does something remarkable. It activates what's called systemic acquired resistance, SR for short. Think of SAR as the plant's immune system switching into high alert mode. A plant with activated SAR becomes significantly more resistant to fungal infections, bacterial pathogens, and environmental stresses like drought, heat, and cold. Salicylic acid is essentially a natural immune booster for plants. Saponins. These are natural soapy compounds found throughout the gel. They carry antimicrobial properties, active against harmful fungi, bacteria, mold, and yeast. They also act as a surfactant, meaning they make water wetter, helping water particles adhere more effectively to soil and leaf surfaces for better coverage and uptake. Acemannan, a polysaccharide with antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal properties that also stimulates cell division and tissue repair. It's one of the core reasons aloe is such a powerful wound healer, and those same properties extend to plant tissue. Alright, so let's talk about what's actually inside aloe. We're looking at enzymes, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. Aloe contains calcium, magnesium, zinc, vitamins A, C, E, and several B vitamins, all building blocks for healthy plant tissue and soil biology. When you look at that list together, you really start to understand why this plant can address so many garden needs at once. It's not just doing one thing, it's delivering a complex biochemical package that touches nearly every aspect of plant health. Part 2. The products aloe can replace, and why people want to. To understand why gardeners are turning to aloe, it helps to understand what they're moving away from, and why. So let's talk about commercial rooting hormone powder for a second. The standard stuff you find on the shelf uses synthetic auxins, most often IBA, which stands for indole 3-butyric acid. Now, it definitely works, but it's not exactly cheap, especially if you're someone who likes to propagate plants pretty often. And, the powdered form doesn't really soak into cutting tissue as well as a gel or a liquid would. Alright, Part 3. Aloe as a rooting hormone. What the science says. This is really the spot where things get a little tricky, and honestly, where there's a lot of hype online. So let's just be clear about it. Aloe vera is not a direct equivalent to commercial synthetic rooting hormone. That commercial IBA powder delivers concentrated auxins in a form that's super bioavailable and made specifically to trigger quick root formation. Aloe does have auxins, that's true, but the levels are lower and, well, they're not as standardized. If you want to give it a try, here's how to use it. First, harvest a fresh aloe leaf, then scoop out that clear inner gel. You want to use it undiluted. This is one of those times where full concentration is best. Make sure you coat the cut end of your cutting really well, and then go ahead and plant it right away. Alternatively, for seeds, you can coat them in aloe gel and let them soak for 6 to 12 hours before planting. The gibberellins in aloe encourage faster, more uniform germination, and the antimicrobial environment protects seeds from soil pathogens during that vulnerable germination window. Freshness really matters here. Aloe's active compounds, especially those growth hormones, start to degrade within just a few hours of the gel being exposed to air. So you'll want to use it fresh, cut straight from the plant right before you need it. Part 4. Aloe as a fertilizer, the soil biology angle. Now this is where it's important to be real direct about what aloe is and what it isn't. Aloe vera is not a high NPK fertilizer. If your plants are showing serious nitrogen deficiency, like yellowing from the bottom up or stunted growth, aloe alone just won't correct that. It simply doesn't have the nitrogen concentration to do that job. Anyone claiming aloe vera is a complete fertilizer replacement is definitely overstating the case. Additionally, aloe's salicylic acid helps reduce stress responses in plants. A plant under stress, whether it's from transplant shock, drought, heat, or pest damage, will start diverting its energy away from growth and into defense. Regular aloe applications help keep that stress response dialed down, which means more of the plant's energy stays directed toward roots, leaves, flowers, and fruit. Part 6. Aloe as pest control. And, the research behind it really does have a genuinely interesting origin story that's worth sharing. So, researchers over at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, were out visiting a commercial aloe vera farm when they noticed something unusual. Insects were attacking all the surrounding plants freely, but they were completely avoiding the aloe vera leaves. The aloe plants themselves were just untouched, in an environment where everything else was getting damaged. Now, here's an important distinction to keep in mind. Aloe foliar spray works best as a preventive measure, not as a reactive one. When you apply it regularly, before pest populations build up, it creates an environment that pests are just plain reluctant to colonize. But if you try using it after a heavy infestation is already established, well, it just won't knock down the existing population the way neem oil or insecticidal soap will. Prevention, that's where aloe really shines. Alright, so the foliar spray recipe goes like this. Take 2 tablespoons of fresh aloe gel per liter of water. Add a small drop of dish soap as an emulsifier. That helps the spray stick to the leaf surfaces. Give it a good shake. Then, spray both the tops and undersides of the leaves, since the undersides are where most pest populations tend to establish first. Best to apply in the early morning or evening when it's cool and out of direct sun. And hey, repeat every 7 to 10 days throughout the growing season. Part 7, what gardeners report in honest results. So let's talk about what actually happens when folks commit to an aloe-based garden system for a full season. And let's be honest about this, because the internet, well, it has a tendency to either wildly oversell natural solutions or just dismissively write them off. But the reality, it's a lot more nuanced and honestly, more interesting than either extreme. Alright, so let's dive into how you can set up your own aloe system at home. The best part about this whole system is where it starts. Just one plant that costs almost nothing to maintain and honestly, pretty much takes care of itself. Now, when you're getting the right plant, look for Aloe barbadensis Miller. That's the standard aloe vera species with the highest gel concentration. When it comes to harvesting correctly, always take the oldest, outermost leaves. These are the most mature and, well, contain the highest concentration of active compounds. Make sure you cut cleanly at the base with a sharp, clean knife. Before using the gel, let the yellow sap near the cut end, called aloin, drain out for a few minutes. Aloin is a laxative compound. Small amounts won't harm plants, but draining it gives you cleaner, more potent gel. Now for folks who want to take things a step further, let's talk about some advanced pairings, ways to make aloe work even harder. For gardeners who want to take this further, a few combinations really amplify aloe's effects significantly. One of my favorites is Aloe plus compost tea. Compost tea, that's water aerated with finished compost to cultivate beneficial microorganisms, is already one of the best soil biology boosters you can use at home. Adding aloe gel to compost tea contributes saponins and polysaccharides that those beneficial microbes feed on directly. Here's the thing about aloe vera in the garden. It isn't a miracle, and it isn't a gimmick. What it is a plant that happens to carry a remarkably useful set of biological compounds, growth hormones, immune activators, antimicrobials, soil biology supporters, that address a wide range of the things gardeners have been buying separate products to handle. And it all starts with a plant that sits happily in a pot, asks for almost nothing, and gives back more than most gardeners ever expected. If this gave you some new angles to work with this season, the like button genuinely helps this content reach more gardeners who are looking for exactly this kind of approach. And if you want to keep going deeper into natural, low-input growing, subscribe. This is the heart of what this channel is about. Drop a comment and tell me, do you already grow aloe vera? Have you used it in the garden before? What are you going to try first? Love hearing where everyone's starting from. Thanks for watching. Now go give that aloe plant on your windowsill a second look. It's been waiting for a bigger job.